All right, in this video, we're going to talk a little bit about controlling the initial bleed when you first launch your campaigns. Now, first thing I just want you to understand that, with a display campaign, the first day or two typically isn't telling of, what the actual result's going to be. It takes a little bit of patience on display. You got to let it run a few days, let Google go out and find, what it needs to find. So, for instance, on search, if people are looking for a specific keyword, you're bidding on that keyword and you're pretty laser targeted, whereas in display, Google's going to go out and they're going to try to find places that work for you. Now, it may start kind of ugly. They may find a few things that work right off that are great, and depending on your budget, that tells Google what your budget that is, tells Google, hey, how much outside traffic can I look for? Or how much different traffic can I look for? So for instance, you may have a really great day on day one, things may fall apart on day two, and then you might have a better day on day three. It's just the way it is during the initial launch of a display campaign. Now, in this list, I'm going to give you some things you need to monitor and tweaks you need to make, during that initial process, because to be honest with you, traffic's going to be somewhat unpredictable at first. Now, we've done everything we can, okay, to give us those three layers of different targeted traffic, right? Some really laser stuff as much as we can, something a little outside the box and something way outside the box, because we've done everything we can to try to make it as predictable as possible. But you got to understand that a loss is par for the course. I mean, there's not going to be, very rarely will anybody, depending on what your funnel is, unless you've got a really mature funnel like I talked about in the previous course videos, unless you've got a really solid funnel, you're going to lose a little bit. That's just the way it is, okay? But it's good that you need to understand, of what the things you can do to try to, drop that loss down as much as you can, okay? Because there is ways you can control the loss, okay? But remember, the ultimate goal here, which we're going to talk about in an upcoming video here, is to hit 100 or 200 conversions and then engage target CPA. Because with target CPA, as we're going to learn, there's going to be things that can adjust and tweak that no matter what we do, we can't access to tweak. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that later. But let's start down this list. As placements start coming in and traffic starts coming in, start monitoring the initial placements very heavily. Now, I showed you click on the Display Network tab, placements, select the all-time date of the campaign, and you will see the placements start to come in, okay? And the first thing you want to do is sort by clicks, okay? Don't worry about the ones that have 100 impressions that might be irrelevant. They haven't got a click yet. Don't worry about those right now, okay? We want to sort by the most clicks, first of all, because we want to see, hey, what's costing us money, okay? And a lot of times what I see is if there's some really, heavy placements, heavy traffic placements coming in, I don't see any conversions on them all, even if they've only spent $10 or whatever, hey, I'll plug them right into a web browser and take a look at the site, okay? If it's a heavy traffic placement, now, you can almost tell if it's kind of irrelevant to you almost by the name, but don't be fooled by the name. I've seen some pretty weird names convert well. So this is going to have to be a decision you're going to have to make. You plug it into their web browser, take a look at the placement and say, is this one, since it's spending a lot of money, do I want to risk letting it go a little bit or do I want to exclude it? Okay, so that's one of the first things you should do, okay? Now, after traffic is coming in and you start spending some money, okay, you're going to start to see some placements that are going to be hitting like 200% of your target CPA. So if your target CPA is $40 and you see a placement that's coming in at 80, okay, go ahead and exclude it. Now remember, when you exclude this placement, it doesn't mean you can't, take all of our excluded placements later on and plug them into a new campaign at a really low bid and see if you can get them to work. Kind of like a bad keyword, right? But let's get them excluded right off the bat so we're not bleeding, okay? It doesn't mean they're not going to work long term. They're just not going to work right now for us, okay? Now, on those placements that are about 150% of your target CPA, go ahead and add them as managed placements and bid drop the bid down 20% or 30% or something like that. Because if the placements are 150% of your target CPA, now that can mean you've spent, $60 and not had a sale, or it can mean you've had a sale at $60. You know what I mean? So, or a sale, rather, 150% of whether you've had a sale or not, I guess is what I'm trying to say here. So what you want to do is bid lower on those placements just to kind of get the bleed down a little bit. Continue to monitor it. Now, over time, if it starts flipping back around, you can always bid it back up. But the point here is just trying to monitor and control that initial spend and just monitor things heavily, as particularly the placements here first and foremost, because this is where you're probably going to have the lowest hanging fruit and the lowest, the biggest opportunity to improve the campaign in the early stages, okay? Now, after some traffic's coming in, the next step is what I like to do is start taking a look at the ads, okay? Now, depending on what you have for a setting, you may have rotate ads that, or excuse me, show ads that give us the most click-through rate, or you might have show ads that give the most conversion. Whatever method you want to use there, you want to monitor because you're still going to see the performance. So here's what happens. When ads are running, Google, and you have the setting show ads with the highest click-through rate, Google is going to just start giving all the traffic to probably one specific ad in your ad, in each ad group, okay? That means that one specific ad has a great click-through rate. Doesn't mean it's converting, right? But then you look at the other ads, okay? And again, this is all about looking for click-through rate and conversion patterns. Then you look at the other ads and say, wow, this ad had 2 sales, but the click-through rate was really crappy on that, okay? So then you want to create hybrids. I'm going to talk about that in a second. But first of all, I just want to say, wait at least 5 days before making any decisions. And there's a reason for that. Because like I said, when you first start a campaign, it's almost like you're giving Google, 10, 20,000 keywords and saying, hey, find a keyword that works, right? So if you're making the decisions too early, Google really hasn't had time to rotate through a lot of placements or find places that work. And a lot of this is going to be based on your budget. And that's why I talked about if you're coming in with a $10 budget, it's going to be very difficult unless you're finding one laser targeted placement that you want to attempt to attack, which I quite frankly haven't found a lot of success doing that. But my point is if you need to wait 5 days because of just the sheer volume of placements, and Google needs to go out and test on placements, just like we're testing ads and testing landing pages and testing things on our side. Google is testing things on their side when it comes to placements and click-through rate and conversion, okay? So wait at least 5 days before you start looking at your ad. I know it's going to take some fortitude, but it's something you really have to do. Like I said, Google will rotate through inventory. They'll start making decisions. And usually by day 3, okay, if you've got a fairly decent budget, you start to see Google starting to favor, a specific ad. It'll start rising to the top, okay? And then once you see that, you'll see which ad Google is favoring and which ads start to dry up. So Google will give a larger percentage of traffic to one ad and the other ads will just kind of dwindle down to nothing, okay? Take a look at the other ads, say, wow, this one converted well, maybe it was because of this headline. So then you start creating a headline from one ad that had a good click-through rate, and maybe you test a description line or a long headline on ad 2 along with a description line on ad 3, right? And you create like a hybrid ad. And then you monitor again, and you just keep cycling through and cycling through. Now, while Google's optimizing is the time to do this, because when you engage target CPA, a lot of placements may fall under the not qualified, right? So if Google sees that a particular placement's not converting, they'll exclude it. If we can start rotating our ads quickly here in the initial process, we're giving Google a lot of ammunition. Okay, here's a new ad, Google, try this. Here's another ad, Google, try that. Then Google will find something that sticks and work, and we're learning. We're seeing what's converting and what's giving a good click-through rate, and so on and so forth. But you get the idea. One of the biggest mistakes marketers make is they'll write one ad, they'll have one page, they'll start a campaign and say, why didn't it work, right? You got to be active and always looking for opportunities to improve your process, whether it be processes with the campaigns or processes with the ads. In this case, we're talking about ads, okay? Now, that's pretty much my system on ads. Now, the next thing you want to take a look at, and before you start your campaign, you better have a landing page test set up, because if you're paying for traffic, you at least want to be getting educated and learning from that traffic, okay? So remember, it's all about placements, ads, page, okay? You should be testing, Google's testing the placements, right? We've done our best to say, Google, we want this topic, or Google, we want pages with these keywords or this theme. We've done our best to laser target in, right? And we're saying we don't want this placement or we don't want that topic. Now it's up to us to make our pages and our ads to do their job, okay? So monitor your landing page test, okay? Check your data, monitor it. check the opt-in rates, check conversion rates. You should be testing every step of your funnel all the way through. Okay, and then what you're going to do is you're going to identify, and based on your conversion metric, you're going to identify some patterns like, oh wow, this page seems to be getting a better opt-in, but it's not converting as well. Oh, wait a minute, this page is converting like mad, but our opt-in is down. And you're going to be able to do the same thing like you're doing with your ads. Okay, you're going to be able to create new pages to test based on what you see, right? It's very, very simple. Okay, keep the best performing pages and pause all the rest. Okay, and then start testing against the newly created pages. Now, during this process of 2 weeks, 3 weeks, however long it takes you to hit that 100 or 200 sales, by the time you hit that, you're now going to have a lot better funnel than you did have initially, right? You're going to have, you figured out what kind of ads are working. Google has landed you on some placements that seem to be favorable. Now you've got a couple, a landing page that you've established a baseline, okay? And now when you engage target CPA, which we're going to talk about in a few minutes, now you're ready to continue testing and have target CPA do its job and say, okay, here's the best funnel I got, at least to this point. Give me some traffic, and here's the metric to put in for CPA. Give me CPA of this for this funnel. Okay, now you've qualified based on your CPA tons of specific placements. Okay, and that's really what you have to do initially to control the initial bleed and set yourself up for the next step we're going to talk about here, which is target CPA.